year has begun, so why don't you make a resolution to support your friendly local podcast? Okay, I'm not local, but I'm friendly. I'm not friendly either. Support me anyway. Go and check out Jeff's 2 podcasts, The War for the Tower and Foolish Wits. The War for the Tower is an actual play podcast set in the world of Stephen King's Dark Tower, and Foolish Wits is all about language and Shakespeare and writing, and I think you will enjoy both very much. You can check them out wherever you get your podcasts. That's Foolish Wits and The War for the Tower.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, a Song of Ice and Fire 2, the co-host switcheroo, the rereading Return to Blackwater, HBO spoiler edition, uncut, uncensored, and this wildfire is too hot for TV.
Good Lord.
Bringing you the greatest hits on the prow of the ships from 1996. Call in with your requests now. In this episode, we're covering chapters 57, 58, and 59. Sansa, Davos, and Tyrion. In these chapters, Rashawn gets to see what Tyrion was working on that they did not include in the television program. And I was very upset about it. Welcome to Some Spoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
Alright, so I know that Tyrion's chapter is the last one of the 3, but, I really do want to talk about Tyrion real quick, just right away, because of the chain thing.
Okay.
What do you think of the chain thing? Were you like, oh, that's what everybody was, or were you like, oh, shit, this is rad?
It was somewhere in the middle of those two things.
Okay.
I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I actually, when it comes up in the Davos chapter, because he sees it in the water. Yeah. And I was just like, oh shit, what is he talking about? And then he gets it, and I'm like, oh, that's no good. That's no good at all. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know what? It didn't even occur to me as I was reading to be like, was that in the show or not? I didn't even stop to think if it had been. Okay. But now that you mention it, then yeah, that definitely wasn't part of it at all. This is a neat little engineering feat, and I think it is especially cool because I'm assuming that this is 100% Tyrion's idea.
Yes.
Right? Which shows, having the wildfire, was pretty ingenious as well. But this is on a different level, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And shows, I don't know, a sort of tactical, I don't know if that's the right word, but I
think so.
A mind for defense and an ability to think about things and of things that maybe not everybody else would. I feel like who else in King's Landing was going to come up with this idea?
Whomst among us.
Whomst among us. And I'm really curious, I know, at least from the show anyway, that Tyrion does not really get any respect for this victory that he pulls off. Mm-hmm. And at least in the show, the big thing was the wildfire. But you add this to it, and then knowing that he doesn't really get any respect afterwards. And you're just like, what the fuck does this guy have to do? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was really saddened when they didn't include the chain in the show, because I thought that sounded really cinematic and was a really, fun surprise because the wildfire is already so scary. And you're kind of figuring that's definitely it. The wildfire is the secret weapon, and that's what's going to win the day. And it's not like the wildfire isn't the weapon that wins the day, really. But the chain adds a sort of insult to injury, and holding them in place. So it's like, oh, yeah. No, you're not escaping. You don't get to, leave now.
Yeah. I think
I was sad about it.
I feel like the show did a thing where it was like they were trapped by their own boats that were behind them. So that they couldn't make a break for it, I guess, or turn around and skedaddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess somebody could argue, all right, well, that accomplishes the same thing because it creates a bit of a bottleneck, and there's nowhere for them to go. They're just stuck there with the river on fire. But the boats being, if that's what in fact happened on the show, just the boats themselves crashing into each other and then sort of creating this blockade, that does not count as an idea of Tyrion's,
Exactly.
So it's like the show kind of stole a little bit from him, which is a real shame.
Yeah, it was like sort of a weird thing for me that the wildfire, Tyrion is the one who goes and explores the possibilities with it, but the wildfire existed already and people knew that it was a thing, so it doesn't feel as much like it belongs to him. Yeah. And I just felt very sort of resentful at the fact that they just decided to remove this entirely, because the moment of dread as Davos realizes what the fuck they have done, because he sees the thing and he has an idea that it's a chain, but he's like, if it were, why aren't they just keeping us out of the harbor? What are they doing?
Yeah. And by the time he realizes it's a trap, it's way too late, and no one can hear him anyway. What was I getting ready to say? I was fuck. Oops. I was about to say something.
I said something about the moment of dread that I wish we had gotten to see on the show, and Tyrion, it being his idea in a way that wildfire isn't really his idea.
Yeah, there's a moment in the Davos chapter too where he even says that there had been rumors that wildfire might come into play, but Sir Ermi?
I don't remember. I'm sure we'll get there in a bit. But
It's the guy that's actually the commander of this fleet that Davos is in.
Okay.
Whatever that guy's name is. He tells everyone that they don't have to worry because even if there is wildfire that comes into play, there clearly won't be enough to be of any concern.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
And that was surprising to me. I don't remember if that happens in the show or not, but I feel like that was a surprise because when he says that, I was like, oh shit, they know? They know.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like magic coming back into the world with dragons. Maybe there wouldn't have been that much, but there was a pretty good cache of it already. Cache? I do this every time. Cache of it? Who cares?
George would say cachet. I got cachet out the yin yang.
Oh my god, I forgot that he says that. I thought you meant George R. R. Martin, and I'm like, why George R. R. Martin say that?
That is not a sentence you'll probably ever hear me say.
Because he does have cachet at the yin yang. Anyway, all right. So let's back up and talk about Sansa. She has been called down to witness Joffrey's heroic departure, and it's this whole thing is so... I just hate him.
So does she.
Oh, I love her hatred. I love it.
Not even stand to look at this motherfucker anymore. This is not new, but I feel like it's been a little while since we've had Sansa Joffrey together in a scene. The last couple of times we've seen her, it's just been like her and the Hound, or her and fucking Florian, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
You know? So she's also here at his request. Mm-hmm. And it's very much, you know, a scene, you know, that he's setting up. He's going off to battle and all of his finery, and of course his lady needs to come. And then there's this whole thing where he has her kiss his sword, and it's just like, ugh. I love she does a line, she says something about his mouth makes it look like he's pouting, and how she used to like it, now she can't stand it.
I really love that. That is such a thing when you, like, first are into somebody, and then, like, you begin to know them better. And it doesn't even have to be like a romantic thing, but the very things that you found sort of charming about them begin to be just repellent to you.
Yep.
And I love too when Tyrion is like, I thought you would have been called to Maegor's Holdfast or Maegor's Keep, because that's where all of the noble ladies are going. And she's like, well, I came down here because Joffrey summoned me, and also I'm going to go to the Sept to pray. And he's like, I won't ask which side. I won't ask for whom. His mouth twisted oddly. If that was a smile, it was the queerest she had ever seen.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy him always kind of being aware, and her just not really understanding how aware he is. You know, I don't think that it really has registered for her yet how much he sympathizes despite being on the opposite side. It's not like he sympathizes to the point where he doesn't still want to win.
Exactly.
But, like, he gets what the position she's in.
Yeah. He's even saying here when he sees her that he's thinking for just a second that maybe he should have sent her away when he sent Tommen away.
Yeah.
Because she would have been safer. And, like, he says that to her, but she doesn't seem like it matters. Like, it's a clear moment where he's expressing sort of like concern for her well-being, whether it's politically motivated or not. But it doesn't really land on her in a way that makes her think that he really cares, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Anything about her. And she's not wrong to feel that way. I mean, she hasn't had a lot of time with Tyrion either, and
yeah,
I mean,
and I think it's just safer to never assume anybody gives any shits in this situation.
Right.
Like, I want her in a way to, like, trust him more, and in another way, I'm kind of like, no, good for you. Be like this. It's probably better for you in the end.
Yeah, exactly. And as she's having this conversation with Tyrion, Joffrey calls her, and she's like, he calls her, be like, I'm a fucking dog.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because doesn't he just go, like, here?
Yeah.
Or something. I'm like, oh, God. Gross.
And, you know, his behavior isn't particularly different than when she first met him, which, you know, is part of her realizing that all of the shit that she thought she liked about him is all garbage, and that he's garbage, you know? But, before, when he would call for her and talk to her like this, she would chalk it up to, you know, oh, well, he's just under pressure. You know, this is a very serious moment for him, and, you know, whatever, make excuses for him. And now she's just like, fuck him on every level. And you really do love to see it. I like, too, this description, because each of the 3 chapters are all about the same night, you know, all about the Battle of the Blackwater, and it's just different sort of perspectives. And she is talking about how everybody has been singing in church at the Sept, you know, all morning people are singing, and but you can still kind of hear beneath the singing, like, the sounds of people preparing for battle. And there's a lovely bit where she's thinking to herself about how can a god hear, like, if their god is multi-faced you know.
Right.
Whose prayers will be heard if people are praying to the mother and people are praying to the warrior, you know, whose prayers are actually going to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And then she actually goes to the Sept after the thing with Joffrey is done, and she sits through the whole thing, and she's singing a lot of the hymns she knows. Some she's just sort of faking. And then when the Sept gets up to, like, listen. Though I am always surprised how whenever I end up in a church, usually these days it's for a funeral, I'm always surprised how many songs I remember.
It's weird because, like, I didn't have the hymns that are traditional in most places, so I straight up, no, I don't know, I just have to, like, mouth along and hope for the best. Don't know anything. My favorite is when there's, like, that call and response in Catholicism. Mm-hmm. And that one I always get tripped up. I'll say, and also with you, even though, like, it's not appropriate at that moment, or, you know what I mean? Like, just, yeah, no.
Yeah, I've only been to, I think I've been to a Catholic church maybe 3 times in my life. A wedding. Oh my
God, you're so lucky.
Yeah, 2 weddings and a christening, I think.
It's just that they're so long.
There's a lot of standing and kneeling and standing and kneeling.
It's so long. I remember my stepdad's mother, who was a devout Catholic, died, and they did a full mass for her funeral, and it was like 4.5 hours. It was just all goddamn day. Pun intended.
I've never been to a full mass. There was a sort of a shortened mass for the weddings, and the christening. I think it wasn't full mass for that either. They were both like an hour. You know, in and out. And the first time I ever went to a Catholic church, I did not know what the kneelers was, and I thought it was like a footrest situation. Like I was on a Greyhound or an airplane or something. I was just like, oh, this is really handy.
I mean, yeah, like, why wouldn't you think that? Honestly, that makes more sense than there being a kneeler in some ways. Like, yeah, the midnight mass for Christmas, I really enjoy because it's just so beautiful a lot of the time, depending on the church you go to. And it being that long feels really special, but I can't imagine that just being the kind of service you go to every time you go to service. Like, oh my God, just kill me.
I mean, you know, black church, they be in there for like 3 hours and whatnot. If you add on, I used to go to church and I would have to be there at 7 something for Sabbath school. And then, yeah, we would get out at I would get to church at like 8, maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, and we'd be there till like almost 2 in the afternoon.
That's my dad's church service was long, but it was like broken up in such a way that even though it was long and I still hated it, it didn't feel as tedious. Probably a lot of that was also just because the fucking reverend was a nut job, so that was entertaining. But the Owen's grandparents, they do a morning service and an afternoon evening service. Mm-hmm. So they get up and they go into church for like 9 a.m. to like 1, or no, like 9 to noon. They come home and then they go back out at 5. Mm-hmm. I cannot understand.
That's how my church was. We would go in the morning for Sabbath school, and you have like the actual, you know, sermon, and then you come back in the evening to close the Sabbath. And you go back at like sundown and have like an additional,
Jesus Christ,
less, like a little bit, it's like a little bit more relaxed, you know. But you would go back and close out the Sabbath with an evening program. Yeah.
No, sir.
But so yeah, so she's there and she's like doing, you know, she's doing the thing. She's praying the prayers and she's singing the hymns, and then the Sept and gets up there and starts praying for Joffrey, and she's like, "That's it for me," and she just gets up and walks out.
I swear.
And it was really the best part.
Every time that she gets a chance to be a little defiant, I'm just very happy for her. You know, it doesn't happen often, and it's just not safe most of the time. But when she dares to do it, I'm just like, oh, good for you, girl. Yes.
There's a moment where she tells Joffrey that Robb always goes where the fighting is the thickest.
I loved that. She's like baiting him.
I know. And like, it just says she says recklessly, but it doesn't say that she regretted saying it.
No. And then she says something like, but he is a grown man, though. Just like acting like, well, I don't expect the same thing of you. And here's the insulting reason why. I love everything about the way she's deciding to be here. It feels so very like Pride and Prejudice to me in how passive aggressive it is. I just, yep, that's the stuff.
And Joffrey is, I guess, just, you know, I mean, like, he understands, he's not happy to hear this, you know, he's, like, upset, and he says something like he'll deal with her brother later, but, that's it, because he's so focused on this battle that he's about to be a part of, that he thinks and all, it feels like he's just too distracted to go at her like he normally would if she said something like this.
Yeah, definitely.
So she basically just gets away with it without much happening to her, you know. He threatens to gut Robb later with his heart eater.
It's got a literal heart with it, and the heart is encased in the jaws of a lion. Mm-hmm. Which just honestly is so tacky. Like,
I love, she says that she starts thinking, like, he used to have a sword named Lion Suit. But he didn't have that one no more.
That, Your Grace.
It's good stuff.
So, this is when, let's see, let his sword break and his shield shatter. Let his courage fail him and every man desert him. Sansa stopped and listened. A way off, she could hear the sounds of battle. It was another sort of song. A terrible song. Sansa pulled the hood of her cloak up over her ears and hurried toward Maegor's holdfast. And she comes in, and she's coming
Lady
up
Tanda.
she's coming up the drawbridge, and Lady Tanda is with her daughters, and Lollies is putting up a fight about this. I don't blame you, Lollies.
Yeah, and there's the other girl, a sister, who I don't remember hearing about, but oh, no, she just got here. That's why I don't know her. She just got here from some place called Castle Stokeworth. Mm-hmm. And Lollies does not want to go in. They are still lying about her not being pregnant, which I guess you kind of have to. But
I guess,
it's unfortunate.
But like everybody, it's just one of those where I'm like, it's not a secret that she was raped. It's not like she had a tryst and nobody can know. I mean, what do they think?
I don't really 100% get what's happening here. And it's a thread throughout the book so far, but it's always just kind of in the background.
Yeah, very much so.
So I really don't know how much attention I'm supposed to be paying to this sort of subplot.
I think we're paying about the right amount.
And what else is... we know that she was attacked. We know that she's raped. It doesn't seem like anybody is trying to hide or deny that. I guess there is just in this world, in this universe, there's an extra shame to having been, impregnated.
I guess.
Yeah. Because her mom is still like, and Shay's with them too. BT dubs.
Looking like she just wants this woman to drop dead.
Yeah, like she wants to push her into the moat herself.
Yep.
So then they finally just grab her by the arms and drag her in, literally kicking and screaming into the safe house. which is, you know, done up nicely and comfortably, and it's not as big as some of the other places, like the Queen's Ballroom Sansa mentions specifically, but says that this place is still big enough that it easily sits 100 people. Mm-hmm. And everybody's there, you know? A who's who of highborn women and their young sons and old men who are not fit to battle.
I want to mention, too, that when they walk up, there's like a guard just like chilling, sitting on the steps.
Yeah.
Who has to jump up. It's just like very not taking this seriously.
Yeah, it's how Sansa says she can tell that these are just sellswords in fancy clothes. Mm-hmm. And then she sort of like confirms that when they walk up and see this guy just sitting like a real knight or gold cloak or whoever it's supposed to be. I guess these are crimson cloaks.
Right, yeah.
You know, would have been standing there.
Oh, you know what? And about lollies as well. I forgot to mention it in the chapter where Tyrion goes to speak to Cersei. They're eating suckling pig, and she mentions that it's a gift from Lolly's mother, because they keep trying to marry Tyrion off to her, and I assume that they would just pretend the baby was his if that was what they, you know what I mean?
Oh.
There's also the bit where Shay is talking to Tyrion about lollies and literally says all they did was fuck her and has no sympathy whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Which I was genuinely surprised by. Like, I would have thought that Shay would know how horrific something like that would be. And if
That's
she does, I guess she just doesn't care. Like,
I was going to say sometimes knowing just how shitty something is doesn't necessarily make you have compassion for it.
Yeah.
You know, it can be the opposite. You know, we see it all the time. Well, I had to go through it. You don't see me crying about it and making a big fuss about it, you know. You know, I mean...
Yeah.
Shay is... Well, that's another thing, too, about Shay is that I was about to say, you know, she's, you know, this and that, but I only know her through Tyrion's eyes for the most part, and we had a whole chapter last time where we talk about how he even knows he's not really seeing her.
Yeah.
You know? So we don't really know what kind of woman she is. We only know the kind of woman she is when she's in his company. We know the kind of woman that he sees when he looks at her. But that little offhand comment about lollies might be telling us way more about Shay than Tyrion ever has.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, that's a shame. I don't like seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Anytime a woman is just like, well, who gives a shit about something like that? I'm just like, man, what is it like to live like that? But, you know, and Shay had been abused by her father, which is part of why she ran away. So that is like what you said about like, well, I went through that and you don't hear me crying about it. That probably is like exactly the mindset that she's working with, I would guess.
Right.
Like, not only is like, did lollies just go through something that I also went through, but she's like wildly privileged and gets to just like lay around and feel sorry for herself now. And I didn't get to fucking do that. Look what I'm doing now, you know? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, it's not the way you want that shit to go.
No. I mean, I can't, like, I can see how that would happen, how your heart would get hardened after a while, because it's just, what are you supposed to do? You got to get by, and that it's easier, I'm sure, to do that when you just shut that off. But I'm saying that as if there was a part to shut off, and I don't know that that's even true.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, right? Like this character Shay is so, in some ways, you know, completely constructed for the benefit of Tyrion. You know, I mean, like, she tells a story about what happened to her as a child at her father's house, and there's no reason for us to doubt her. But likewise, there's not really a lot of reason to believe her either.
Yeah, that's true. I think that she's telling the truth only because Tyrion asks for the truth, and she says, but that'll cost you double. So I like to think that she's telling him the truth just because she was literally paid to, and she's like, gonna stick to those sorts of deals. But so okay, back to what's going on in Maegor's Holdfast. The queen looks amazing, and she's got a couple of spots of color on her cheeks, which I'm assuming is meant to be like she's been drinking.
Oh, thank you for that. I was like, was she just fucking? Like, which is nothing wrong with it, but I don't
like. Maybe that's also it. I don't know.
I think yours makes more sense.
As somebody who flushes intensely when I have been drinking, that is always what I assume. Oh God, you guys, it's so bad. I can't having makeup does not change what happens to my face. Ooh, turn purple.
The way it's written just kind of threw me off a little bit, just because it's just like it describes, how pale she is. Well, the white of her dress mostly, and then it just says, that the white made her look innocent, almost maidenly, but there were points of color on her cheeks. Mm-hmm. And it's the butt, which is, but there were points of color on her cheeks. So I'm like, innocent, almost maidenly, except these points of color on her cheeks. So I was just like, well, that's a weird what?
Yeah, I think. And also the headsman is here.
Yes, he is.
And Sansa asks why he's there. And Cersei's like, well, to protect us, of course. I am surprised that you didn't know. Mm-hmm. And Sansa is just like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't buy it. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. She actually thinks to herself that she wishes the Hound were there. Mm-hmm. Not so much that in general she wishes that he were there, but she would prefer him to Sir Ilyn.
Yeah, the dude who chopped her dad's head off. Like, ugh.
And she says, she thinks anyway that as bad as the Hound is, she doesn't believe that he would ever let any harm come to her. And she clearly does not have that same feeling about this guy.
Yeah.
And she's like, won't your guards protect us? And Cersei's like, and who was going to protect us from my guards? Because these motherfuckers are not anybody to be trusted. They're going to run the minute shit gets rough. They're going to steal, and where's that going to leave us? And then she's just like, do you know what happens to a city when it's sacked? And then she's just like, oh, I guess you wouldn't. And it's just really like a bitch to her all of a sudden.
I think that this is the drinking. I think that's like, she's just fucking out here saying shit.
Well, she was drunk as shit in the scene on the show. So I think, you're absolutely right about the flushed cheeks being an indication that she's already been drinking before she showed up to this dinner.
Was she drunk in the show? I don't remember this scene
in
the show, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like that is an indicator about her being afraid. But I might be reading into that too much,
I mean, I feel like it is the right choice to make if you're,
yeah,
if fucking the battle is at your door and the best that you've been given is to go hide up in a tower and hope that people protect you. This is as good a time as any to break out a bottle. She says to Sansa that all she knows about life is from songs, and there's not a lot of good sacking songs.
Yeah, I love that. There are moments where I do enjoy Cersei, even when she's being antagonistic.
And then it just ends with her being like, why don't you just eat your food and wait for, what is Simon Star Eyes, which I feel feels made up, and Prince Aemon the Dragon Knight to come rescue you. And I'm just like, there are moments when Cersei can, I would think, take advantage of the opportunity to present herself as, you know, as a queen, as a leader, as a woman that can bring comfort to, you know, the women around her. And she decided she wanted to go a different way. You know, like she has this child in Sansa there, you know, and instead of doing just the minimum, you know, of trying to make her feel better, she just doesn't give a fuck at all. And I think you're right. I think it's because she's just already, like, drunk as shit by this point. That she can't even be bothered to try to make a little girl feel better.
Man, I really, like, you know, as somebody who has never myself been through a siege, I can't imagine what it's like to not only be in the midst of this, but the whole point of your position in society is that you don't do anything to protect yourself. You rely entirely on other people to protect you. And, like, as a control freak, that's just absolutely horrifying to me. So, I just wonder how I would cope. Would I get all crotchety and mean-spirited because I'm afraid and I just, like, can't deal with this fucking infant over here being like, a true knight would never hurt ladies, you know? Or would I be sympathetic? Or, like, I don't know. I don't have a lot of patience at sometimes, and then I'll surprise myself with my patience at others. I don't know. But I just really understand Cersei here in a moment where I don't understand her a lot of the time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think the scene, and I don't know if we come back to it in the book or not, like this scene in the show is where Cersei has that line. It's something like, you'll be in for a bit of a rape.
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
right. Mm-hmm.
But, so, like I said, I don't know if we come back to this and that line is in the book or if that was a show creation, but that is definitely the energy that Cersei is giving off so far.
Yeah.
Which is that she is going to be filled with just those type of things that don't make you feel any better, you know.
Well, so yeah, that's the end of that chapter. So then we go to Davos, and I will be honest with you guys. I tune out a lot of Davos' chapter because it's a lot of ship names and port side and
yeah. I'm really glad you said that because
this is always a difficult thing for me with ships. I don't get ships.
Yeah, it's this is a lot of ship talk.
It's ship talking with Sean and Tasha.
And I appreciate the detail. I appreciate taking the time to name these 40 boats that we never hear of again. You know, you know, good on him for putting that kind of effort into it. But friends, let's all just take a moment and have like a little honesty. You know, just amongst friends. Yeah.
This is something that I do find interesting because I have to assume that there are people out there for whom all this information really paints a picture and means something. And for me, I like occasionally will tune in when it's just like, you know, the prow of one punctured the starboard side of the other. I'm like, okay, I know what that means. But, and like for the most part, I do get what things mean, but I have to stop and parse them out in a way that slows down my comprehension overall and doesn't ultimately feel worth it when all it comes down to is that ship sunk. You know, like I don't need to know exactly how it happened.
Right.
It's sunk. And that's that one down. You know?
I think for me, the main takeaways from this whole chapter are really the most important thing, or the thing that stuck out to me was one, how unfamiliar this territory is for him. Even though he's on a ship, which is like his bread and butter, right? He is sailing right in with banners flying to a place where normally he would be sneaking in and sneaking out. You know, this is just so outside of his wheelhouse, and that also he is not in charge of this this mission. This other guy, this Sir Imry, is the guy who is actually in charge. And Davos does not think that this guy is making the right choices. Yeah. But he has been overruled, and basically, like, his concerns were just sort of like, thank you for putting those in the suggestion box. Yeah. You know? Like, and when you're welcome for being allowed to this meeting. You know, like when your boss is like, I have an open door policy. It's like that kind of thing. Yeah. But so he, and again, we don't have anybody else's POV, but so we don't know for sure, but my assumption is Davos sees what's happening and the trap they're going into before anyone else does. Mm-hmm. And has a bad feeling about this plan even before the trap becomes apparent. Yeah. And we know that he has been placed sort of in the most dangerous part of this sort of this battle. Mm-hmm. Wherever they are, I forget where they are exactly, but they're like to the front and to the side a little. Right. And one of his sons is just like, oh, well, this is good because this is like a chance for us to really prove ourselves. And Davos is like, no, this is how you get killed. And they all give him a look like, oh, wow, you really are pitiful. And he's like, God, I'm turning into a grandma. This sucks. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a bunch of ships, and basically they are all finally getting close to King's Landing after a couple of false starts. Mm-hmm. You know, there was some things that didn't go well when they first set out. Then they lose like some ships, and then they all got separated. I can't get over it. I'm sure that's actually how shit went, you know? But reading about it, it's so funny. It's like just trying to herd cats. And that's what it sounds like. And also the imagery, like, of Davos is telling us that Stannis is on land and is somewhere mad as fuck because where are his goddamn ships? They were supposed to be in days. I forgot about that being how it's set up. Because I think that Stannis is on a ship in the show, right? Yes. I think so, like, too. Yeah, I feel like in the show they'd feel like they have to do that to make it make sense. But I love the idea. Like, I just keep seeing anybody who has been watching along on Crowdcast or listening to my coverage of Full Metal Alchemist for Spoil Me. Full Metal Alchemist is an anime series. And during moments of extreme stress, the characters will go from being illustrated in a, pretty traditional anime way to suddenly turning into like chibi versions of themselves. Are you familiar with chibi art and what that looks like? I think so, yes. And so for some reason, I just keep picturing a chibi Stannis with like an exclamation point over his head, waving his sword, like, where are they? Like that kind of, that the rage almost turns comical because it's just so over the top. So anyway, that's how that's going in my head. I feel like that's probably pretty accurate. Probably Stannis is like more understated with his rage than that. He just like cracks his jawbone because he's grinding his teeth so hard or something. But I like to imagine him really starting to lose it. That's really funny because now I just have that little picture in my head. Oh, goodness. So, we get the layout of where all the ships are and, like, the different size vessels and, who's like, moving slower than normal because there's just so filled with fucking people. Basically, too many fucking people wearing all kinds of armor. I love that Davos is talking about the people that are in full armor on their ships, Sir Imry being one of them. Because Davos is like, if you fucking end up in the water, that's no good. Pretty basic fucking stuff, but it's like, yeah. But also when you get the description of the actual battle scene too, Like, there are boulders crashing and arrows flying, and I think even Davos gets, like, whacked upside the head. Yeah. And luckily he's wearing a helm, otherwise his head would have been split open. So I get it, but it was just a moment for him, again, because he's not a guy that, like, takes ships into battle. He's not that guy. So he doesn't even like wearing the little bit of shit that he is wearing.
Yeah, I think he gets hit by somebody and then turns around and, like, kills the guy when they're taking the ship leader.
And then his friend, fucking Salador,
yeah,
has been put all the way, like, in the back of this, I don't know what to call it, this slew of ships. I feel like there's the word that I'm looking for. Battalion?
I don't know when you use battalion.
Armada? Is Armada
okay, yeah, that
ships,
might be.
Right? But he has been told to stay all the way to the rear. Mm-hmm. And Davos is just thinking, like, what a waste that is, because that ship is really good, and the guys that man it are all, like, good, he says born seamen.
I swear to God, I was listening to this out loud with Owen, and he says that, and we both just went, that was the only reaction, but we both did it at the same time.
It says they were born seamen, they were wasted in the rear.
I laughed at the first part, then I missed the second part. Oh my God.
In George Martin's defense, there is another word in between that, but it's funnier if you just skip that part.
Oh, that's so fun.
So, so they're going up, and he...
Oh, wait, but Salador's son, I just want to mention this, because, like, he gets put back there because he's been talking too much about how he's owed money, and, like, just clearly isn't doing this because he believes in the cause, which Stannis does not like. Mm-hmm. But that might have worked to his advantage if he is far enough back that he doesn't get caught up in all this.
At one point, I think Davos even says that, like, at the end of the chapter, when, like, all hell's breaking loose and he goes down into the water, he's thinking maybe he can get to the ship, but it's on the other side of the fucking chain thing. So, yeah, who's laughing now?
Yep.
God damn it. Oh, so he's looking, Davos is looking around, and he notices that I don't know what these things are, but he sees two little, like, towers on each side of the bank, and he's like, that didn't used to be here. What the fuck is that? I really love that.
He jokes about how he knows this place better than the back of his hand because he's never spent tons of time staring at the backs of his hands. And and it's described as, like, these two towers were as obvious as if he had sprouted two new fingers. Mm-hmm. And that just is very evocative. I love that.
Yeah, I did too. And I like it because he also says that there's a very good chance that those didn't mean anything to anyone else. Like, the odds of anybody else even picking up that those were there, are so slim. And he's realizes that they've dug a cut through the bank. And he's like, well, what the fuck is going on with that? Like, why would they do that? And then right after that, he notices, like, something glinting in the water. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he sees it. But he's like, well, why wouldn't they, like you said, why wouldn't they close the river to us? Like, what the fuck? This doesn't make sense. You see, like, the wheels spinning? Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed that part of this, too. And then we get some more ship action.
Ship. Let's see. Oh, right. So, Melisandre was going to come with them. And then somebody talks Stannis out of letting her come by saying, if you win this battle, everybody will say it was because of her magic. And they'll say it was her victory rather than your own victory.
Yep.
And Stannis, that pretty much, like, is the nail in the coffin for her joining them. I always wonder what would have happened if she had been there. Like, I genuinely want to know what wildfire means to somebody whose religion is based around fire, because it could either be seen as like an ally that she could weirdly use with her magic, or it could be seen as like an abomination, totally unnatural in comparison to real fire. You know, I am just wanting, I don't know. I feel like in the show she was there, right?
That I can't remember.
I don't recall. But I, like, even if she was, I also don't remember like how she would react in the show or anything.
I don't think she was there for that. But you know what? I don't remember, so I'm not sure. But yeah, you know what? Because I feel like if she had been there, then we would remember something, because everything that you just said, like her whole religion is based on fire, and what would she have thought of using fire this way? Because what they've done with the wildfire is against the laws of nature.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
I feel like she would have had a lot to say about that. I don't know.
Oh, I'm looking at, thank you, Austin Armenio, again, for sending notes. I'm checking out his notes, and he says that in the show, the line about them saying it's her victory, not yours, is given to Davos.
Oh.
Yeah.
In the book, Davos is just like, I kept my mouth shut. I didn't have shit to say. However, between me and you, I was glad to see her go.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, oh, good. We get to just participate in, like, normal, regular murder. No magic murder. As long as it's regular murder, I can deal with it.
Yeah. Just barely deal with it.
Yeah.
So, the battle fucking starts, you know, and it's ship against ship. And then there's, like, I love this. There's, like, everybody is prepared and understands that they will be throwing flaming pitch at us.
Right.
That is just how we war. Mm-hmm. And so when the fire first starts, it's, like, orange. And I was reading it, and I was like, that's weird. Like, it's orange. Like, what? And then I was like, oh, wait, no, this is just a regular shit, you know? This isn't, like, you know, anything to... I mean, it's not great, don't get me wrong. But it's not anything that people would be like, oh, my God, what are they doing, you know?
Yeah.
And it goes on for a minute like that, where it's just, you know, it's arrows, and it's boulders, and it's you know, flaming pitch, and... It's bad enough. Like, all of this is terrible enough on its own. You didn't really have to add any extra terrible to it.
But wait, there's more.
Right?
Yeah, this is, I assume, also to, like, keep things on the DL still, so that we let the rest of the ships make it into the harbor.
Yep. You want to get all of them in there as much as you can. Give them time. And there's later on in, I guess it's the Tyrion chapter, we find out, because Joffrey is like, my beautiful ships, my God, what's happening?
Fucking Joffrey, go sit down and have a juice box somewhere. Nobody has time for you. God damn it.
And Tyrion has to just tell him, like, yeah, we had to send our ships out to meet them, to engage them, to get them to come all the way in. Otherwise, you know. Yeah. But, the beginning of this battle goes kind of like, I guess, what everyone is expecting, and it's pretty awful. And, you know, they lose a bunch of ships. Davos' ship, I think, goes down. Mm-hmm. And then there's some green.
And Davos knows what the fuck this is right away. And it's that's more than we were expecting, right out of the gate, and they haven't seen anything yet. Yeah. And there's this whole, like, slow lead up of this one guy going to ram a ship.
Sorry about the banging. Sorry, hang on. I'm just trying to get a Kleenex. You know how you're just supposed to pull it and it just comes out?
Did the box just lift up?
Yeah. That's exactly what happened.
I guess that's why they have, like, Kleenex box holders, like, to hold the box down, because it's heavy. I always
thought those were pretentious And like, why would anybody buy those? But now, it never occurred to me until you just said it. That probably makes sense.
Yeah, I have always looked at those and been like, oh my God, who fucking cares? And I am like so fucking extra about my decor. You would think those would be right up my alley. But now that I think about it, there's a practical reason for it. Shit, I may have to go buy one now.
Yeah, don't be like, man, the whole box is just swinging back and forth while I'm trying to get one tissue out.
Oh, God. I have had that happen on Spoil Me because I cry on camera at Spoil Me all the time because people have me covering some. You guys are just mean-spirited sometimes. And yeah, I have just gone to toilet paper at this point. I was going through too much tissue. It got expensive.
Put that shit on there when you do your taxes.
Yeah, I probably should actually. I guess that's something that probably therapists have to do is like their tissue budget. Oh, God. So I should mention too that Davos has like 4 sons in this.
Yeah.
And he does not know where any of them are by the end of this section.
Yeah. There's, I feel like on the show, there was just the one son with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that son was like sort of religious, but I can't remember what whether it was Melisandre's religion he was, I guess it would have
I think it was, yeah. I think he
and
like fully subscribes to that.
Yeah, and he loses his son, but I don't remember, but here he's got like 3 or 4 sons, you said, right? And they're all on different, like, manning different ships. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so cute at one point at the beginning of this, like, his sons are, like, their ships and the ones he's on, they're so good. He, like, brings them all in a line, and he's like, yeah, look at my boys. And then there's, like, all these other ships behind them that are, like, some of them are too slow, or they're, like, you know, not navigating properly, and he's just looking around like,
yep.
Fucking amateurs.
Yeah, who's the Onion Knight now? Showing everybody up.
I enjoyed that for him. But then again, that was at the very beginning, and things just go downhill.
Oh, so bad.
Oh, my God. So yeah, they're he's yelling out commands. As much as the ship talk got a little like just convoluted and just too much for me, I did appreciate the commands that he's yelling out and how the oarsmen are keeping up, and how the oar master, I think is what the one guy, the drum guy, is called. Mm-hmm. And each command has like a different speed, so it's like ramming speed and this, and all this. I thought that was really cool.
The logistics. Yeah. I mean, I always find that shit fascinating, the way that information is communicated in the midst of a war when you don't have technology. You got to figure shit out, and it's wild to think how subtle some of the signaling is, but it makes total sense,
Right.
Once you've been trained and you get used to that, it makes me think of the use of Morse code and how that was just like a language for people that they knew, and I'm just like, that is a wild time.
It's so funny how, like, things come and go, the way that he is communicating now to his ships and to the other ships, like, it would not work now. Like, there's no way. It would be, but, like, how we do things would be impossible to explain to anyone of this world. Like, it would just be incomprehensible. And how we take it for granted when we're in it.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And, it's, the thing I was watching, I was telling you about, there's that Station 11, there's a bit where someone is trying to explain the internet.
So it's been long enough that the internet's no longer a thing, and there are people who have never experienced it.
It's been 20 years, and she's holding a phone You know, she's holding an iPhone, but it's just like dead. And she says, she was like, and how many books and plays could this hold? And the girl says, all of them. She's like, what? And then there's another part where she's like, so you just pull up a map and then what happens? And the girl's like, well, you see a map and there's like little cars everywhere. And she's like, and then what happens? Well, you pick a car and then a car shows up. And it's just like, it's, you know, like even 10 years ago, you know, that would have been for us, you know, like Uber and Lyft, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. What? I was still calling for a cab. What are you talking about?
I think about how I was on a plane and I was seeing somebody using a like airplane phone, because remember they used to be built into the back of plane seats.
Oh my god! You could call somebody from an airplane, and it was like
what? Such a big deal. And I remember looking at that and being like, okay, what the fuck? He can call on a phone from the plane, and we use our phone line to get dial-up internet, but I can't access internet on the plane? This is horseshit. And like 3 years later, the internet was everywhere. Wi-Fi. I remember the first time I encountered Wi-Fi
I don't remember.
On campus at my college at Carnegie Mellon. They had begun installing Wi-Fi because it was like a technical college. It was really about technology and robotics and mathematics, and people were like out on the quad with their laptops doing shit out in the open with no wires, and I just flipped shit and was like, there's no way, what? And like, granted, the connection wasn't great, but it was like still pretty fucking impressive. Yeah.
I remember when I was still working at hotels, people would have to come down to our business center to check their email or like check in for their flight the next morning or print their boarding passes.
Like ubiquitous business center. I love those weird, like, they always have the same smell. There's like this plastic smell. And a little bit of like a breakfast food smell or coffee.
Because it's always right by the little, you know, whatever your little breakfast area is.
And they have this old Dell and a fucking printer that's out of ink. It's out of paper. It's not picking up the file. And everybody has to come to you at the front desk to print your shit anyway. Whatever. Why do we have this? So that we can say we have it.
When we were at Cabana Bay, I walked by the business center and I was like, what the fuck? Why do they have this?
They had one? I didn't even see it. Oh my God.
They had one. They sure did. Wasn't nobody in that bitch, but they had one.
I guess like at a time, you know, not that long ago, they were still doing paper tickets and everything to get into the parks. They only started doing shit with like the QR codes and whatnot in the past couple of years. So I guess like having everybody come to the front desk to get their Universal tickets printed was probably the worst.
God, it probably was.
But anyway.
Yeah. So, all of this, like, just, like, trying to direct all of these people, all of these ships, with all of this chaos, you know, it's just hard to imagine, that people are rowing, you know, into this, you know, which is just, like, has to go against every instinct that you have, you know. That at one point even Davos is like, yeah, we used to like smugglers, like we go in and the minute there's trouble we turn around and leave like normal fucking people. But
that's the thing that I find like so crazy about war in general is like, you're going into this fight and it's not like, I mean, there are going to be times where you're ambushing or they don't know you're, you know, but like a lot of the time you're just showing up at the same time aware that you're going to try and kill each other. And that is just a weird way to approach anything. Like, well, we'll just, you know, see how many of your guys we kill. you'll see how many of our guys you kill. And then, we'll take score at the end and decide, like, who gets the thing that we want.
It makes perfect sense to me that, like, we really don't engage in war that way anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was just bonkers that we ever did that. We were doing that for hundreds of years. That we were all, like, meet you after school at 3 o'clock in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But on a global scale. Like... You want to beat my ass, and I know where you're going to be at 3 o'clock. Why would I also be there?
Right?
At that place.
Because if you don't show up, then everybody's going to hear about it, and it's going to be a whole other thing. Womp, womp.
So,
all right. So, all the ships explode. Back to Tyrion.
That's pretty much what happens, though. Yeah, everything goes down. Once things really... fuck up, then the chain is sort of engaged, and Davos is in the water is on fire, which shouldn't even be a thing that's possible, but here we are.
Yeah.
And he could just make out Salador's ship on the other side, but realizes that he's not going to be able to reach him. And that's where his chapter ends.
The mouth of the harbor had turned into the mouth of hell.
That's a really bad line.
Honestly, it's not great.
It's not great, right? It's not just me? Okay, just checking.
I find it fascinating, the difference in reaction that I have to certain, like, quote, badass lines in fiction. I don't...
Business is my fucking...
I swear to God. Oh... It's so good. It's such a good line. It's not good, but that's what's good about it.
All bangers all the time. I'm so sorry, y'all.
This is beginning to feel like an asshole's birthday party, and I specifically said it shouldn't feel like an asshole's birthday party. Honestly, if that's not my entire energy, I don't know what is. Oh, I hate that that's true, but there it is.
I 100% said that I wasn't going to, like, bring up anything that had to do with Succession, because we just got off on such a fucking tangent.
Yeah.
But then you go around talking about lines, like bad lines.
Oh, man. It's just interesting because, like, and I feel like there are certain writers who nail a badass line more often than others. Like, for me, a lot of the supposedly badass lines in Dresden Files do not hit. They feel pretty corny. Is that a cat taking a shit?
It is. I mean, she was done 10 minutes ago, but she's so fucking OCD. She can't let it go. She can't be done.
That was, like, so distinct. I can practically tell you how many claws she had out. I like, that was so loud and clear. Oh, man. But yeah, it's, I don't really recall, specifically with George R. R. Martin, like, how often he does these, like, heavy hitter lines. And so I'm going to start paying attention to moments that are clearly supposed to mean business and whether or not they work for me, and kind of try and keep, like, a vague tally of whether or not it had the effect I think that he intended it to have. Because Jim Butcher, I feel like, falls into the trying too hard trap, or, like, you know, maybe it wasn't cliche when he wrote it, but now it's kind of cliche kind of thing. Will White, who does the Cradle series, for me, writes some of the most boss badass lines. It, like, they all hit. I don't know how he does it. And, like, if I read them out of context, you would just be like, I don't get, but it's like who the characters are that make them work, I think. But yeah, it's something that I feel like there are lines that just don't hold up after time either, because, like, certain badassery becomes a cliche. So then,
yes.
you know, so I wonder about, like, if I had found the Dresden Files way back when, maybe that would have landed completely. I don't know. Anyway, Tyrion. There's so much going on here. And the thing that I really mostly want to talk about is the fucking reaction that Joffrey is having, and especially to the whores, the catapults, and how he's just like, Mom said I could have the whores. And I'm just like, that is a real weird sentence, but...
Yeah.
Eventually Tyrion's just like, oh, fine, take him, go have fun, I guess.
Basically, just anything that's fucking, like, shut him up. And I love that there's a moment Tyrion thinks to himself, like, fucking Cersei, I am doing everything I can to, like, keep your kids safe as much as I hate
Oh my
them.
God, I
There's
know.
a moment where he, like, slaps his visor down shut because he's like, God forbid a fucking arrow come and go through his goddamn eye. And, like, I'm going to have the answer for
his
that.
visor up. I really like the idea that Joffrey just has no concept that he could be in any danger. That feels very true to character.
Yeah, absolutely none. Like, he can't even imagine a world in which he would be harmed. And it's a mixture of so many different things. It's a mixture of just, I guess what comes with being prince, and then king at a very young age, and coming from his privilege, and also he's just a sucky human being.
Yeah.
He also is, like, weirdly overconfident in his own untested abilities.
Oh my God, that is 100. I forgot all about this aspect of it, but he just keeps being like, despite the fact that he holds it against Sansa that she saw him as a coward, he still does act as if he's going to be away. That, like, everybody knows you're not going to be that way.
Yeah,
and I can't tell if he really doesn't think he would be that way, or if he knows himself better and just... I think he really thinks he would be that way.
I think he does too. I mean, I don't get any inkling of any kind of self-awareness or any kind of, like, internal conflict. You know how we get, like, Theon is, like, all internal conflict, you know? I don't get any of that from, granted, we don't have any of his POVs, but even if we did, I think they'd be, like, in the brain of a psychopath, where it's, like, even when you're in his brain, you're not, like, reflecting on anything that makes him him, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. That's actually interesting because, speaking of POVs, this is the first Davos chapter that we have had in a long time.
Yeah,
we kept on
while.
being like, oh, maybe Davos next week, and we just never happened. So we the first one we get in a while, and it's just not going super well for Davos. It's a bummer.
It sounds like things haven't been going well for a while. When you
yeah,
hear
that's
about,
true.
Like, how long it took them to fucking get to where they were. I'm kind of glad we didn't get any chapters.
It's just been so infuriating. It's like trying to get a fucking field trip organized at school.
Oh my God. I also like. There's a when Joffrey is talking about his ships, I like that it says, like, his voice cracks. Yeah, he's just in the way, really. Yeah. He's not helping anybody. He's not bringing anything to this except just being in the way. And, oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm just reading here. It's, Tyrion is watching, like, all of the destruction from the wildfire, and he thinks to himself that it's like dragon fire, and wonders if Aegon the Conqueror had felt like this after he flew above the field of fire. And it's in Tyrion's head, it's this. He says to himself, like, Stannis, do you hear this? And then he's like, this is your fault too, basically. Like, he feels guilty.
Defensive.
Yeah, like he, like, guilty, and, like, he's not going to be the only person that's responsible for this horrible thing that he's done. Like, you made me do this. I would never have done this, but you made me do this by daring to, like, attack us. You forced my hand. I didn't have a choice. And he's thinking about Stannis too, and he compares him to Robert a little bit, and he says that he knows that Stannis is somewhere watching, and he also says that he likes to command from the rear like his father does, like Tywin does. Mm-hmm. And it's just like a really quick moment that Tyrion has where he kind of thinks of Robert, thinks of Stannis, and thinks of his father, all like in the same, like 1, 2, 3 set of thoughts.
Yeah, and I kind of appreciated that it's not framed as if you're not out there fighting alongside your men, then you're a coward and a bad king. It's like some people have that fucking thirst for battle and some people don't, and sometimes it works for you and sometimes it don't. And it's, you know, everybody is going to treat it differently. Clearly Robert survived everything, so that shit worked for him. It made his men respect him and he enjoyed himself, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just a weird... It was a little bit surprising because when I started to read it, I was about to be like, oh, is he going to be like judgy about this? And then no, he's like, that's how my dad would do it. My dad's really goddamn good at this. So,
and you know, when you think about it, in this moment, Tyrion is doing it too. He's somewhere sitting on his horse, watching everything. I mean, later on, he ends up having to like just get into it for real. But but at this exact moment, he is the same. He's sitting up on his horse. We find out later that someone has to like boost him up so he could see because he still couldn't see over the ramparts.
God.
So to get like a good view of what's happening, someone had to. I mean, it doesn't say he's on somebody's shoulder, so I don't know exactly what they boosted him on, but
they just made a little hand hammock. You know, the ones that you like make and then you step out.
Oh, right. Oh,
that kind of boost. That's what I assumed.
That's probably. No. Let's go with that. That's way better than anything I had pictured, and much more dignified. I had him on somebody's shoulders, like he's at a fucking Coachella or something. This is no good.
If Coachella could figure out a way to utilize wildfire, they absolutely fucking would. You know they would.
I mean, well, now I'll keep that thought to myself.
I know what that thought was, though. I know. Oh.
Oh, I just hate everybody.
All right. So... Tyrion had warned Trent and Kettleblack what would happen to them should any harm come to the king, and Joffrey had a dozen veteran gold cloaks waiting at the foot of the steps. I'm protecting your wretched bastard as well as I can, Cersei.
And says, I hope that you do the same thing.
Yeah, for Alayaya. And then he has this moment where there are men landing on the tourney grounds and they're bringing a ram up to the gate.
Yeah.
And he is yelling for them to head out, and Sandor Clegane says no.
Yep.
And his eyes are wide and the whites are showing, and Tyrion suddenly realizes, oh, he's fucking flipping out.
Yeah.
And that fear has gotten to everyone because that dude is unflappable, and the fact that he's beginning to lose it, everybody's beginning to lose it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's so funny too because he's thinking, like, Tyrion at first is just like, well, I'll just like, you know, get stern, you know, I'll throw a fuck in there, get on your fucking horse, that'll do it. And it doesn't work. And that's when, also, can we talk about, real quick, did he lose an ear? Or did I just read that wrong? The hound lost the ear, right?
Sandor Clegane wrenched off his helm with both hands. The steel was scorched and dented. The left ear of the snarling hound sheared off. I think it's the hound that's his helm is made to look like.
Oh, okay.
It's not like his the hound.
Thank you.
It's the hound. Yeah.
Got you. Office. Okay. I read that like 3 times. Like, did this motherfucker lose an ear? And it's just like, we're not going to talk about that. Like, he's fine. Like,
one of his ears is like melted.
From when he was a kid, right?
Yeah, so from when he was a kid.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. 'Cause I was just like, that is really fucking badass if he's just like half his ear fell off when he took his helm off, and we're just gonna not take a minute to deal with that. So, but yeah, Tyrion realizes that he is afraid. He's too afraid to go back out. And so Tyrion decides to, like, try to reason with him. Mm-hmm. You know? They're going to come inside, and they're going to fucking, you know, we can't let them get through the gate. You have to do something. And it just doesn't work. No, it does not. And this other guy jumps in, this Sir Mandon-Moore.
The king's hand commands you. What if the king's hand commanded you to go out there, Sir Mandon-Moore? Then what would your reaction be? I have a feeling you wouldn't be so, like, such alacrity.
He asked for a drink. Somebody bring some water.
Oh, my God. And he like, spits it out and is like, what the fuck? And honestly, that's the right reaction as far as I'm concerned.
Well, here's the thing though, like, you're surrounded by, everything is on fire, right? Even if you wanted wine, if you got a mouthful of water, you're parched. You're going to swallow that. You're not going to spit it out. You're going to swallow it and then say, fuck your water, bring me wine.
I mean, I would, but I'm not, like, a deep alcoholic like this dude clearly is, so I don't know. I mean, it's the sort of thing where, like, I love iced tea. I love it. But if I think I'm getting Coke Zero and I get a mouthful of iced tea, I'm spitting that fucking iced tea out. I'm just going to be like, what? What is that? It's iced tea. Okay. You know, it's just when your mouth isn't prepared for something, it's just kind of like a shock. Well, react with the expulsion instinct, I guess.
Oh, goodness. Nope.
So, this is when Tyrion's like, all right, fine. I'll do it. And he's low-key hoping that if he says that, the Hound will be, like, ashamed enough of himself to be like, oh, fine. And instead the Hound's like, what? You? And Tyrion's just like, ugh. God, I have to do it, don't I?
Yep. Like, yeah. Oh, okay, he's going to call my bluff. Okay,
yep.
All right. Where's Pod? Pod?
Yep.
And he realizes he's really going to have to do this. And he gets up on his horse and tells everybody, you know, if I'm half a man, what does that make the rest of you?
And that does it.
Yeah, I love, too, that Tyrion thinks to himself, if I fight, they have to do the same, or they're less than dwarfs. And then he says, you won't hear me shout Joffrey's name. You won't hear me yell for Casterly Rock either.
I bet they won't.
Yeah, this
is your city, and he's gonna fucking take it, so let's kill him.
Yeah, this was a pretty good scene in the show. Mm-hmm. This they embellished this little speech aplenty threw in some rape threats, because that's how you motivate men. Ugh. These men are gonna. What is it? Something about coming into the city and they're gonna, like, fuck your wives and daughters and whatever else he says. Yeah, you can throw that in there because, you know.
Because the showrunners never could resist rape anywhere, whether it was really dialogue or an actual scene.
They actually literally could not.
Yep.
And I loved it after he says all this, he just rides straight out, and he's hoping that they're following him. He thinks that they're following, but he won't turn around to look. Because just the act of turning around to double check to see if it worked is like a show of weakness, and you can't do that.
So, I love that he knows that.
Yeah. And so, like, low-key, he's just like, shit, I hope that they're behind me and I'm not just riding out by myself.
Oh, my God. It would be so embarrassing. Can you imagine if nobody had followed him and he's, like, just with pomp and circumstance trotting out there completely alone.
Oh, my God.
Humiliating.
Yeah, just him and Pod.
Poor old Pod. I like the idea that Pod is, like, 100% about it. whether or not everybody else is there as well. Pod is just like, yeah, let's go.
I just assume that's how it goes, right? Like, that's just a given, I thought.
It's funny how, like, Pod has just not been around in the books the way he was in the show. So I'm assigning him a lot of the personality that he has in the show at this point.
That's true. He isn't really a part of this. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really did become, like, you know... I mean, he was never a main character, but he definitely became, like, a fan favorite, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And apparently he could fuck.
That's right. That's right. When they sent him to the whorehouse and all the girls throw freebies at him.
That's not how that would go, guys, by the way. They would just enjoy being paid while actually having an orgasm for a change.
Also, you know, well, I won't want to tell you, I don't know if you know or not, but a big dick does not necessarily equal an orgasm.
Well, that's the thing, though, is that they're questioning Roz about it. And they ask if he has a giant dick, and she says they say it wasn't any bigger than an ordinary man. Like,
I
it
thought
wasn't
the whole joke
his dick
was
size.
that it was.
No.
I don't remember that at all.
They ask, like, well, what did he do? And she says they said it was difficult to describe.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that completely differently.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Huh.
So, yeah, so it's, you know, he maybe has, like, some magic fingers, or goes down real good and actually knows where the clit is, or something. Good for him. Good for him, Pod. All right. So that is the end of that chapter. We went back through this faster than I expected, considering it's 3 chapters. But
but it was a lot of ship talk.
I still really want a podcast called Ship Talking. I'm sure that exists, actually, now that I say that. Every time I think I've come up with a clever name for a podcast, I check, and it's definitely already out there.
You've seen that meme that's like, everybody thinks you're special till it's time to pick a username?
Oh my god, I hate picking a username. I've actually recently started to land on a pretty consistently available one. And I'm not even going to say what it is, because then it's going to start disappearing on me, so I can't have that. But I've had good luck recently. But yeah, most of the time I'm just... I have to do like 18 tries before because I don't like using numbers. You know how they'll be like, well, the Cutie Pie is taken, but Cutie Pie 00165 isn't taken. Why would I want Cutie Pie 00165? What does that mean? That's not even that's not my birthday. I don't know where you even got those numbers. Does that signify that there's 165 of them already?
That's what I always assume. Like you're the 165th person to try to be funny by.
I just, no, I find it so insulting when they try and, like, give me it. Or they'll be like, Cutie Pie isn't available, but Cootie Pie is available. And I'm like, that means something. That's a different meaning. That changes it. You can't just sub a different fucking letter in and be like, well, close enough. No. That's just, I get very, very upset about that sort of thing. Oh, you really hit on something with me there.
I'm sorry.
You really hit a nerve.
I just felt really called out by that meme. I didn't expect it to resonate quite so deep with you, though.
All right. Well, real quick, I want to say hi to the new patron that we got last week, Daniel Mitchell. Daniel, you were the only new patron of last week, so you're getting special attention. Oh, hey, Daniel. Damn, Daniel. Thanks for signing up. Appreciate you.
How tired of that do you think Daniel is by now?
I have to assume either you go one or two ways with something like that. You get sick of it, or you like learn to love it.
Right. Or maybe it can't circle back around. Like maybe he got really sick of it, but he hasn't heard it in a little while.
Maybe.
And
or what if he's the original Daniel?
Oh shit.
Oh shit. I have a celebrity
Daniel.
patron. Oh god. So yeah, do you guys know I went through an episode that was like particularly low energy that Rashawn and I recorded when we first started back after our vacation, and cut me saying, okay, I cut every instance of me saying, okay, so, and it shortened the episode by like a full 4 minutes. That's how often I say it. So I apologize for the episodes in which I have not edited all of those out. It's a lot of work to edit all of those out.
I feel like you're trying to set a very dangerous precedent.
I just, that one particular episode, we were so low energy that those on top of it all, it was really just like dragging. But most of the time, our energy is high enough that I feel like I can get away with some okay ums, and it's quickly we move past it and, you know, start talking about something. But that episode, it was more like, okay,
why would you bring that up now?
I'm just like, I just said, okay, after finishing the episode, I'm like trying to wrap up a thing that I have done literally thousands of times by now, and I still do it. And I just can't get over how I talk for a living, and I can't shake this habit, this vocal, I don't even want to call it a tick, because like, it's, I feel like means something different. But you know what I mean? If you had asked me 10 years ago if I was still going to be doing this sort of thing, I wouldn't have thought. I have thought I would have outgrown it by now.
Well, I think that what the okays are, I mean, we know what they are, but it's sort of like a little bit of a placeholder while you get your thoughts together for the next set of things that you want to talk about. And I don't know, I mean, I know I assume other podcasts don't have as many. They probably just edit them all out, because quite frankly, between 100%. Me and you, I don't know how you do this without those. I mean, if you are reading a script, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But just in the flow of conversation, I don't see how you avoid it. So people just must be editing them all out. Which I say, God bless you if you were doing that.
That, I think, like, when I first started recording this with Brendan, because it was the only show we were doing, we edited together all of the, like, pauses, and we pulled all the ums, and, you know, all of that got taken out. And then as I began to produce more content, I was just like, you're getting an episode and be happy with that. And that's kind of where I've stayed, to be honest, just, like, in that place. But I assume that other shows that don't have it either have amazing editors or they are scripted, really heavily scripted.
And I feel like now you're just opening up the door for people to leave their commentary on our ums. And I really have no interest in that commentary.
I mean, it's not like, even if they do leave that commentary, they're not going to, like, you won't see it. That's going to be in reviews, which I don't share with you, because honestly, I feel like unless it's like a personal note about something that somebody was going through, you don't want to hear it. I think you don't like being reminded that people listen most of the time.
That has not changed. I announced that at the beginning of this venture, and it has not changed for me at all.
I haven't checked reviews in like at least a year at this point. I feel like there was maybe a time a few months ago where I looked real quick, and I think that was only Harry Potter. But otherwise, I haven't checked anything because I just don't really need to know. I feel like I'm at a point where nobody's feedback is going to change how I operate at this point. I've been doing it too damn long. So if I'm not going to take the feedback in order to internalize it and perhaps improve my product, I don't care. I don't need it.
I mean, there are, like, I mean, I remember from the early days, like, the importance of reviews because they tend to bump the shows up higher, right?
Oh, yeah. No, they're important. I'm not saying that they're not important. I'm saying that I don't care about them anymore.
Well, I 100% endorse that. I really do.
Everybody who's left a review know that I deeply appreciate you doing it, but I probably won't see it. So if you feel like you want me to see it, just shoot me a little email and be like, hey, what's up? I like your show. Y'all are funny. And I'll appreciate I may not respond to your email because I get a lot and I don't reply to everybody. But I'll see it and it'll make me feel all warm and toasty inside. But if you're going to email me and be like, you do say yeah a lot, I will delete you and block you. So Just know that also.
Well, on that note, guys.
So if you want to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/unspoiled and make me read what you tell me because you're a patron and I have to. And you can also come to the Discord, which is open to everybody. It's not just for patrons. And chat in the spoiler chat or the spoiler-free chat about this and other topics. And, yeah, I think that's everything. I
You
just
can come
again. Can't help
Come play Wordle with us in the Discord chat. We post our Wordle puzzles every day.
Wait, is that happening?
Yeah, I started one.
You started a channel for Wordle?
No, I started posting in the gaming channel, and then I think Rowan created a thread for us, so everybody goes and posts their puzzle, their daily puzzle in the thread in the What Games Are You Playing channel.
Oh shit! Okay, I gotta do that. Rashawn just introduced me to Wordle today, and I played it on the phone with her, and she was just like, she was dying to tell me the answer. She was, because I was just like getting very close. But yeah, I had never played it, and it is pretty fun. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game, doing a little sleuthing.
I hate that it's only one puzzle a day. If I would play it all day, but you only get one, and you only get those 6 tries, and then if you don't get it, that's it.
This is why Wordle is more like you, because it keeps you wanting more. And I'm more of like the Words with Friends, where you get like unwanted DMs from random guys. Rashawn's Wordle when I'm Words with Friends.
Oh my god. The accuracy.
Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.